What's up, guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here. So yeah, just in case you guys didn't know, we got a banlist yesterday. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed my banlist prediction video, which was of course like 100% accurate, right? Yeah, that was pretty unfortunate, but that is okay because now we have the actual ban list. And even though it was a pretty small list, there were quite a few things that happened on the market within the past like 24 hours or so that are a direct result of those ban list changes. So yeah, what we're going to do in this video is discuss what those changes were, why some of them happened, and actions that I think you guys should make with these cards moving forward. Let's get started. So first up, let's talk about Ultimate Rare Elemental Hero Stratos. So this card was previously at 2 and just went to 3 on this ban list. Honestly, I feel like in terms of meta impact, this isn't going to do a whole lot at the moment. Heroes haven't really been doing much recently, and I don't think that giving them this third copy is going to do too much. However, the market behaves very, very differently. A card going from 2 to 3 is a pretty strong catalyst for prices to move around, so even though heroes aren't necessarily doing anything, it was only natural when we saw Stratos increase in price. So before, when it was limited, we saw it around like $30 to $40, and then when it got semi-limited, it jumped up and then recently settled at around $50, and now that it's unlimited, we're seeing it settle at around $65 at the moment. Heroes are just one of those decks that always seem to be getting more and more support constantly. We just got some in the Legendary Duelist Immortal Destiny set with the evil heroes, and I believe we're even getting more in the next Legendary Duelist set as well. Overall, I would say that we can expect the price of this card to settle back down over the next couple of weeks to around $55 to $60. However, I feel like this is actually quite a safe card to hold on to, as it's such an iconic card that it will always maintain a fairly high price point, very similarly to a card like Atlantean Dragoons or Tour Guide from the Underworld, which are key iconic cards from previously meta decks that are always high in price despite not being meta relevant. Okay, so the next card here is Orchestrated Return. So Nightmare Mermaid was banned, and with that, I think we aren't going to see Orchest as an engine splashed into absolutely everything, which is great. However, I do think that Pure Orchest is actually a pretty strong deck that can contend for tier 1 status. I think that a lot of people would actually agree with me, and that's the reason that we saw Orchestrated Return largely bought out. So this card has kind of bounced around in terms of price. It was previously only like $2 or so at first, then it jumped up to $10 when we found out Orchest was going to be good, then it settled back down to around under $5, and now we're currently looking at $16 for a single copy of Orchestrated Return. I think that this is going to be a key card in Pure Orchest moving forward, as it can help to load up the graveyard with Orchest cards, as well as help to dig deeper into the deck for key combo pieces. Also remember, this card wasn't reprinted in the 2019 Megatins. The only version available is the secret rare from Soul Fusion, so if Pure Orchest decks become top tier with this card as a staple at 3 or 2 in the main deck, I think you can expect this card to remain pretty steady in terms of price moving forward. However, if Orchest decks completely flop, then expect the card to settle back down at anywhere between $5 to $10. So continuing on about Pure Orchest, next we have Scrap Recycler, specifically the super rare version from Fist of the Gadgets. So even before, this card was a key card in Pure Orchest decks, as it allowed you to dump any card from the archetype into the graveyard. So if Pure Orchest become a top tier deck, then we can expect Scrap Recycler to stay up on the more expensive end. Remember, we only just got this reprint fairly recently. Before this, it was a fairly hard to find common from an old structure deck, so it's not exactly like there's a ton of quantities available on the market at all. Furthermore, Fist of the Gadgets wasn't a set that was opened a lot because most of the cards in there were actually pretty underwhelming. And of course, Scrap Recycler was a short print in there as well, making it even harder to find. So currently we're looking at $10 for a super rare copy of Scrap Recycler. This price is another one that depends on where Orchest falls in the meta. If we see Pure Orchest do well with this card as a 3 of in the main deck, then we can expect it as a hard to find max rarity card to maintain this price point or even trend upwards towards $15, assuming we don't see it reprinted again. If not though, and Orchest flops, it's pretty safe to say that this card will gradually drop back down towards the $5 price point that it was at before. Next up, we have Thunder Dragon Colossus, specifically the ultimate rare version. So we're currently looking at the cheapest available copy of this card on TCG Player, sitting at around $42 despite a market price of only around $32. This card was actually bought pretty heavily yesterday, as people speculate that with Thunder Dragon being untouched on the most recent ban list, it could be the top deck of the format. Obviously, Colossus is one of the most key iconic cards in the deck, and the ultimate rare is the max rarity version of it, naturally making it a target to be bought out. I actually personally think that Thunder Dragons are going to do quite well in the upcoming format, so I personally believe that Ulti Colossus will maintain around a $40 price tag and maybe even gradually increase towards $50 if it does as well as I'm expecting it to. Even if they don't, because the deck is still so viable and untouched, even if it's not the top deck of the format, expect it to remain between $35 and $40 until we get closer to whenever the next ban list comes out. Alright, so this is one that probably caught a lot of people off guard, including myself, but we actually saw Super Rejuvenation go from banned all the way to unlimited status. So this card was already at 3 in the OCG and not really doing anything, but I think a lot of people were expecting that if the card were to come off the ban list, it would first go to 1 and then 2 and then 3. Anyways, we saw the super rare version of this card currently sitting at around $6. We actually saw it up as high as 8 to 10 at one point, but it has kind of cooled back down. I think people are gradually realizing that this card just won't be as broken as it was in Dragon Ruler format, so they're selling off whatever copies they have available until the hype eventually settles down. I think that the card does have some applications in the current meta, potentially in something like Blue Eyes Dragon Link, or we have the Rocket cards that are still available, and I think that's why Konami put this card at 3 instead of gradually releasing it back into the game by limiting it first. However, you're realistically not going to be drawing 6 cards during the end phase anymore, right? And I don't personally think that it's going to do anything overly noteworthy. Overall, I personally think that this is one of the cards on this list that is overhyped and should be sold as soon as possible in order to capture profits. Okay, so next up, we have Dark Arm Dragon. So here, we're just looking at the Ultimate Rare and Secret Rare First Edition copies. There are a lot of other holo versions as well as commons, so if you're looking for a budget option, pick a rarity and go play with that one. However, these higher rarity copies of Dark Arm Dragon are generally viewed as being more like collector cards, as opposed to ones that someone would want to play in their deck in a tournament. I don't really think that Dark Arm Dragon is going to do anything meta relevant. It's at 3 in the OCG and I don't believe it really does anything there. It might be something cool that's worth watching out for in something that maybe plays like the Danger Engine, but it's really only super valuable when going second to pop cards. If you're going first, it's just kind of like a situationally free body that you can throw onto the board and link off with. So yeah, if you have a copy of either of these like really high rarity versions, you're probably like a collector and you're holding on to them and wouldn't want to move them anyways. Just to be aware of the prices though, we are currently looking at $175 for the Ultimate Rare version, and then $250 for a Secret Rare First Edition copy. These are the lowest available prices on TCG Player at the moment. Obviously, I don't recommend buying these if you're just like a casual player. There are so many other more friendly budget options to play with. Personally, I would go for either the Secret Rare from Legendary Collection, Kaiba, or the Ultras from Duelist Saga. So yeah, if you are someone who's looking for either of these really high rarity copies, chances are you're probably looking for it as a collector, as opposed to someone who wants to use it to play in a meta deck at a tournament. Now, let's talk about Destiny Hero Malicious. So personally, I think that this is the most under the radar change to happen on the ban list. I feel like not enough people are talking about it. I think that someone is going to use this card and do some crazy things with it. Like, I'm pretty sure that the entire Assault Engine isn't affected by the ban list really, and you can still dump it off of something like Vision Hero Vion. I don't know, I'm not good at coming up with like combos and whatnot, but I just feel like at some point someone is going to do something silly with this card at 3. Anyways, not really the point of this video. What we are concerned about here is the fact that 2 versions of this card were bought out yesterday: the ultra rare version from Duelist Pack 5 and the secret rare from Raw Yellow Mega Pack. We are currently looking at between $20 to $25 for a single copy of either of these 2 prints, which is really high up there, right? Like before they were only like $5 or so. Of course, I don't think that this price is sustainable. I think that this price is just an immediate reaction to the ban list, and that each copy will gradually fall down to around $10, maybe $15 if it sees a lot of meta play. However, the thing is, with so many different printings of this card available, including like other holo versions, right? Players just have so many alternatives that they can play instead that are much more cost efficient. So the demand for these higher rarity copies ultimately isn't going to support these prices. So yeah, if you do have either of these two copies, I would definitely recommend selling them and then maybe looking into picking up a cheaper holo version for yourself to play with. And the last card here, guys, we have Royal Tribute. So Gravekeepers haven't been a meta deck in how long? I think the last time that we saw them top more than one event in a single year was like back in 2014 or something like that. Anyways, I think Royal Tribute being at 3 can be pretty funny, right? Like at 1 or 2, we probably weren't able to see Royal Tribute resolve enough, but now that it's at 3, hopefully we can see it a bit more consistently. So we can use it to get rid of hand traps and stuff, which is kind of cool. However, a big fear with this is hitting cards like Dangers or maybe even Orcus. However, and this is just me here, but I think it would be really funny to see this card resolved after already resolving Dimension Shifter, where you get to like banish half the cards in your opponent's hand. In all seriousness though, Gravekeepers are definitely like too slow of a deck to do anything too game breaking in the meta today. Despite this though, Ultras that were actually mostly bought out the Royal Tribute from a Legendary Collection Yugioh's World, I believe, and the cheapest copies available online are like $15 right now. There is also a Duelist League rare version available. However, the prices are kind of like all over the place from what I've seen. They're probably also sitting at around like that $10 to $15 price range. Either way, these are definitely cards that I would be moving because I think it's very unlikely that Royal Tribute plays any big role in the meta moving forward. Okay guys, so one last thing to note here. I think that the Thunder Dragon deck is definitely something that's worth looking into picking up. Personally, I really love the secret rare versions of Dark, Hawk, and Roar from the Megatons. It's the deck that I just put together, and I guess that now that the ban list is out, I'm gonna have to learn how to play the deck. Now, given that it wasn't hit, I think it is very, very strong, although it is limited by the fact that Nibiru and Dark Ruler No More exist in the game at all. Despite this, I think that the deck definitely still has tier 1 potential, and I think that moving forward, we're going to see copies of both the secrets and ultra rares for all 3 of these cards eaten gradually off the market. Now they're currently fairly cheap at around $3 to $6 for a single copy of each of the cards. Realistically, you can build the deck for under $80 or so, which isn't bad at all. However, if the deck does do as well as it should, given that the deck is still functioning at full power without any hits on the ban list, I would expect these cards to steadily climb up in price as the deck gets more and more popular. Alright guys, that is it for this video. Hopefully you all enjoyed the market watch today, and hopefully it's a bit more accurate than my ban list prediction video was. With the meta just starting to take shape again, we're bound to see plenty of changes to the market over the next little while, so be sure to stay tuned to keep up with all of those movements. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button for me. And of course, make sure that you're subscribed to MST.TV in order to keep up with all of the latest content from Tombox and myself. Also, be sure to comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on the ban list and how it has impacted the market. But yeah, that's it for now. So until next time, guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.